What's going on, guys? Twig and Timber Outdoors, and today we're going to talk about what you need to go steelhead fishing. Now, I personally like to fish for steelhead using a fly rod. When we're talking about fly gear, there are very specific things we might want to look for when you're talking about either single-handed rods, switch rods, or two-handed rods, also known as spey rods. Generally speaking, when we're looking for fly rods, we're looking anywhere from the 7-weight range to the 8-weight range is where most people find themselves purchasing a rod. In addition to a 7 or 8-weight rod, that rod generally, when we're talking about, especially here by the Great Lakes, the preferred length ends up being 11 to 13 foot. That may seem odd, but when we're talking about steelhead fishing, we're doing a lot of mend correction and we're also doing a lot of nymphing, especially here in smaller creeks. So having that longer rod really helps. When it comes to your reel, you want a reel that matches the rod well, obviously, but in addition, you want something with a really smooth drag. Steelhead are very good at taking line out, and that being said, you want something that won't freeze. It will also allow you to have a consistent drag and peel whenever that fish wants to take off. And worst comes to worst, you can always apply added pressure when you're fighting a fish. Obviously, casting techniques are different with a single-handed rod and a spey rod. However, unless you're swinging streamers, a floating line should do. When you're swinging streamers, you might want to mess around with your tip, your leader, or if in fact you need to go deeper, a sinking line. When fishing with a spin rod, some similar rules apply. You want a fairly stout rod, but in addition to that, more importantly, you want a longer rod. If you have a 10, 11, 12, 13 foot rod that will handle a nice, smooth, and heavy reel, that might be your best bet for steelhead. Your line on your spin rod is actually generally up to the user, but remember that for a fish that size, you want a line that can handle that fish. 12, 15, 20, 25 pound line should do, and in my opinion, if you go with a 25 to 30 pound line, you can always add a lighter tippet material at the end. The last type of rod I want to talk about is your center pin. Center pin rods are great. They're usually longer, anywhere from 10, 11, 12, 13, 13 and a half foot. And center pin reels are great tools to use to bridge that gap between your spin fishing and your fly fishing. Again, you want a reel with a smooth drag, something that you're able to easily adjust, and something that can handle the fish. Basic fly fishing necessities like strike indicators or bobbers, the right fly, leader, and tippet material are all essential. But remember, you might want to go a little heavier or thicker in diameter. I also recommend having an abundance of sizes and weights of split shot. Seldom do I recommend going out and buying the first set of waders you find. However, I feel it's important to cover waders in this video. If you're fishing early fall or late spring steelhead, PVC waders should do just fine. Remember though that you're going to have to layer up some days under these waders, and in addition, they offer little protection when it comes to rash guards, etc. However, they're a really good tool, especially when you know you're going to be going on long hikes, because guess what? They're usually more breathable. Sometimes, in fact, they'll be labeled as breathable waders. The other types of waders I recommend are obviously neoprene waders. These happen to be for hunting, but I use them for steelhead as well. These are 5mm. They're about as warm as I can get in the budget that I have. And if I need to layer up any more than a pair of jeans and maybe a thermal underneath this, I probably shouldn't be fishing because I could get hypothermia. Now, regardless of what type of waders you decide on, remember that most of the boots that you can buy, or most of the boots that are attached to the waders, are going to be fairly effective. However, because this is winter, or because the rocks might have frozen, or there's heavy moss on them, I always recommend that you get some form of cleat that attaches to your boot. It never hurts, and oftentimes it can save you in a tight pinch. Now, I have the top 10 fly video that I've posted before, so go ahead and check that out, link in the description. But in addition, I want to recommend to you that yes, you can use the same flies that you do for normal trout, for smaller rainbows, for browns. However, I would recommend a stronger gauge hook. That is because steelhead are a different animal, they're a different bear, and especially if they are wild run, sea run in the Northwest, then I would suggest definitely packing your gear and prepare for a fight. Lastly, in addition to all of these different fun things, your glasses, your nippers, all those things that you normally bring fly fishing with you, I would also recommend a waterproof jacket and gloves of some kind. Remember that this season can get cold, and if you get parts of your body wet and they don't dry quickly, then that could spell disastrous or problematic issues for you. Hopefully you liked the video. If you did, like the video, subscribe to the channel. Oh, if you like this here t-shirt, this trout tee, if you like the snapback hat here, check the link below for our apparel. Twig and Timber Outdoors apparel, tons of fishing, tons of hunting stuff, more stuff like this, lots of cool lifestyle stuff. Check it out. Until next time, guys, catch you guys on the flip side, tight lines, and we out.